many rivers. For example, Kaveri, which is a battleground for two states. Here it stopped 170 kilometers short of the ocean. The entire run of Kaveri in Tamil Nadu is 430 kilometers. In this 170 kilometers short, it stops. 3.5 months it doesn't touch the ocean. Krishna doesn't touch the ocean for over 4 months. Narmada doesn't touch ocean for almost 2 months, like this. These were all perennial rivers just a decade ago. Today they've all become seasonal. When they become seasonal, we must understand, see, India's fresh water, Indian rivers have over 100 varieties of fish and other aquatic life. This is the highest anywhere on the planet. If they become seasonal, believe me, the species will vanish in dozens a year. It's not like they have no chance of survival if the flowing water is not there. Right now, NGT and others are beginning to talk about minimum ecological flows must be there, because all this life will simply completely vanish. What took nature to produce millions of years, now in one generation we want to wipe it out. I think it's the most horrible crime we can commit. And above all, we have a population, human population of 1.25 billion people or 1.3 billion people now. And the level of soil depletion in this country is such that nearly 25% of Indian agricultural land will not be cultivable in the next 3 to 5 years. The estimates say in 20 years' time, over 40% will not be cultivable. In 40 years' time, 60% of the land will not be cultivable. Why this is so is, to call soil as soil, you need a minimum of 2% organic content. But in states like Punjab, Haryana, Marathwada, some parts of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, the organic content has gone down to 0.05%, not 0.5, 0.05%. This means it has a maximum of 5 years before it turns into sand. This is the desertification that's happening. And this is happening because if you want to put back organic content, so first of all, if you grow, let's say, 1 ton of crop in an acre of land, you're taking away 1 ton of topsoil. How do you put it back? The only way you can put it back is leaves from the trees and animal waste. Trees we have slaughtered long time ago. We are busy slaughtering the animals. How are you going to put back the organic content when you have 1.25 billion people on your hands? If you destroy the capability to generate food, you can imagine the disaster. And by 2030, it's estimated that we will have only 50% of the water that we need for our survival in this country. And we as a generation of people have had the largest bite of this planet. Never before another generation in the history of humanity has taken such a big bite of the planet, to a point where our children won't have anything to bite upon, particularly in India, considering the population pressures in the land. So, Rally for Rivers is a comprehensive draft policy resolution so that all the stakeholders are taken care of. In my mind, and this is the way it should be, the first stakeholder is the river, second is the farmer, third is the larger community, fourth is the government and the local administrations and other aspects which are involved. But the first is the river. We are fighting about how to use the river. We are not talking about how to revitalize the river, how to save the river. If this doesn't come into our ethos, but we have reached a point, a time to encourage people, NGOs and corporates and others to do some work is over. We have reached a point where we need a mandatory enforceable policy as to how we should behave with our water bodies. It is no more an individual priority, it is not a whim of individual person as to what we do with the rivers. There has to be an enforceable policy because river is not private property, river is national treasure.
Sir, how has the government of India reacted to your demands for what should be done to save natural resources?
The time to go to the government comes after we have created a certain base. That's what we're working at right now. Because it's a concurrent subject between state and center, we are getting the concurrence of the states. This is why I'm personally driving from Kanyakumari to the foothills of Himalayas through 16 states. All the chief ministers have confirmed their attendance in the events, which is a concurrence. Another aspect of this kind of a policy is, if we go aggressively, it will take at least 10 to 15 years to implement the policy. If you implement this in 15 years' time, it will take another 5 to 10 years before the water flows in the river actually rises. So a minimum of 25 years is what it takes to produce results. This is not an election-winning policy, obviously. We are always used to less than 5-year policies because democratic governments are always under this kind of thing. So if a government has to take this step long-term, that if they take this step today, the results will come after 25 years. If this kind of a step has to be taken, the people of India, the citizens of this nation, have to clearly make a statement, we have come of age, we are mature enough that if you make a long-term policy for the well-being of this nation, we'll stand by you. We are not looking for free this or that. We are willing to stand by you if you take a long-term policy. So that is what I'm trying to build. The consensus from the states has come, we want 30 crore missed phone calls. If 30 crore electorate say yes, no government can go back on it. In that confidence we are going towards it. Environment Ministry is totally with us. But this involves enormous financial outlay and executive action. To invest so much for a government, people must stand by, otherwise it will not happen.
Sir, you mentioned…
Are you going in a line like this?
No.
But I'm next.
You mentioned Kaveri, you mentioned Krishna, you mentioned Nanda. There is our dear Yamuna here in north. And I just want to know what is… you must have learned about it, read newspapers, that a guru organized a festival on its floodplains, damaged it, and his organization was completely very aggressive towards the NGT order. How do you think that spiritual leaders taking on river floodplains like this?
Why don't you just name him? Sri Sri Ravi Shankar.
Yeah. I don't wish to comment on any individual actions, but what I say is, this is why I'm saying, there must be a mandatory enforceable law. Doesn't matter who it is, okay? Right now the laws are very ambiguous. It looks like an advisory from the NGT, not an enforceable law. An enforceable law should be there. When you are talking about these floodplains, there is much more. Probably with good intentions, many environmental people who think they are ecologically, active, they have done this to the country. In Maharashtra particularly, and also in Tamil Nadu, they tell me in Andhra Pradesh also something has been done. You must see this as journalists, you must expose this as much as possible. Whoever has done this, I don't know who were the actual people involved. They have dug the riverbed 4 feet deep and miles. See, riverbed is a very complex thing. It takes millions of years to form a riverbed. There is movement of water both ways from the aquifers to the river and river to the aquifers. It houses a host of life. They have dug canals in the river because they wanted to please the local farmers, that water will go to their wells from the river. And this is murder of the river. Such things are being done. This is why I am saying, no individual should be able to touch the water bodies. It must be approached scientifically, and the policy must clearly define what you can do and what you cannot do with water bodies. You can't mess around with it anymore.
The case I referred to, there was NGT imposed a penalty, financial penalty. I'm just asking, if it was a case, I'm pretty sure you will not do something like that, but if there was a penalty imposed by NGT, would you or your organization would have contested that penalty by the NGT? Or taken in good faith the decision that it was something wrong done to the floodplain of the river?
asking me this question.
Would you be contesting on a river floodplain damage you are penalized?
Actually, you must understand it's a democratic country and there's a process of law. Only if there is too much ambiguity of law, these kind of things come up. If the law was clear-cut, there wouldn't be anything like that. Even if you are accused of the most heinous crime in the country, you can still contest, you can try to defend yourself. Within the legal system, everybody is allowed that, that's fine. But I don't see how this question comes. If somebody accuses me of something, should I defend myself or not? I think I will, won't you?
No, after having given charge that now you'll be penalized, after hearing both
No,
sides.
that is different. That is not something I wish to comment. I am saying the laws about environmental issues should not be ambiguous. They must be clear-cut and enforceable.
What would be interesting to know is how would your campaign be different from previous campaigners? You know, very prominent people have been dwelling on the issue of environmental degradation, and like for instance, you mentioned Narmada, you have the Narmada Bachao Andolan for several years. You also have the Ganga Action Plan, you have a ministry for the Ganga now. So are you at all hopeful that despite all these previous initiatives, something could be done in this state?
I'm not somebody who lives on hope. I have a clear-cut plan and I wish to execute the plan. What way is it different is, first of all, it's not against anybody. As I said, every stakeholder must be addressed. The moment you go against somebody, obviously they will resist, they will try to defend themselves, they will fight. So, this is a plan which is essentially an economic plan with a significant ecological impact. If you do not address all the stakeholders and you think somebody is the evil, no, all of us are responsible for whatever degradation is happening, because all of us are in some way party to it. We are only trying to pick on somebody. Instead of that, do we want a solution or do we want a debate? This is something we must decide. I want a solution.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think, how do you describe yourself? You know, do you describe yourself as a God man? Do you describe yourself as a philosopher, a guide? I mean, we have so many God men in our country, right?
I don't know where you saw them. I never saw a God man. I have seen goddamn men, but I have never seen a God man. Where did you see a God man?
So there is a gentleman who is also a yoga guru, Swamiji, Swami Ramdev, I think his name is.
Did he say he's a God man? He said he's a yogi.
And also very influential.
The God man was invented by you people, the journalists. Nobody ever claimed that I am a God man ever, as far as I know. If somebody did, then you can address him that way. I don't think anybody else, I don't think Baba Ramdev addressed himself as God man. So you are saying that. I don't know where God men are. I've never seen one.
So somebody like Baba Ramdev, who is very influential in politics, you know, he's very close to the Prime Minister. So where do you draw the line? Do you think there should be a line that can be drawn or should be drawn between, you know, sort of…
What makes you think the Prime Minister is so naive that he'll get influenced by anybody and everybody that he meets on stage? What makes you think? Does the man look like that? Definitely not naive, isn't it?
Well, Patanjali is really boomed. I mean, Patanjali's business is now
Let's
multi-crore.
understand this. We as a nation, though many of you are still maybe little hangover of socialism, all right, we have chosen market economy. Once we have chosen market economy, we must understand the success of the nation depends on the success of the businesses that run in this nation. Baba Ramdev started on a hired bicycle with a hired vessel selling 15-20 kilograms of Chabanprash, house to house. Today it's a $2 billion company. Rags to riches, but still he stays in rags. I think it's a classic example for this nation. I don't see why anybody should be upset about that. Why are we against success? If there's something illegal, please punish. If things are going right, if business is successful, why should we worry about it? I don't know, I have not used any of the products, but people vouch by the toothpaste. I have not used it ever.
Why haven't you used it?
I'm traveling too much to go and queue up somewhere and pick up a toothpaste,
But
whatever.
you use toothpaste?
Huh?
Usually you think you use
I
or
use
you
neem stick, neem stick.
So leaving aside the other businessmen and Gautam, then you didn't answer her question. How do you define?
Why
How do
did
you
I not
define
answer?
yourself?
No. Why did I not answer?
How do you define yourself?
Not everything in the universe need to be defined. I'm one of those who defies all definitions.
Okay, since everybody seems to be very keen to know exactly how you define, let me just rephrase that. You know, you are biker, adventurer, business person, environmentalist, chef. You're a teacher to so many people. What is the common thread that lies through all of this to create the man that is Sadhguru?
Just alive to everything, that's all. I am not passionate about any one thing. Right now I'm speaking, you can see I speak passionately. If I drive passionately. If I hit the ball passionately. Because I don't see how you can live your life without involvement. Every moment of my life, whatever the hell I'm doing, whether it is small thing or big thing, I'm 100% involved. If that looks like some strange thing, I'm sorry, this is because you're seeing people who are constipated in their head. They can only do certain things, rest of the things they cannot do. No. If I go on the street, maybe I'll dance with a beggar outside without any inhibition. Next moment I will be sitting on the pedestal and talking in a certain way, because it doesn't matter what it is. I will not waste one moment of my life without involvement, because where there is no involvement, there is no life.
So your foundation has offices in Chennai, and Tamil Nadu is right now seeing a lot of political upheavals. Do you see the keen interest that BJP seems to be taking in Tamil Nadu politics and AIADMK's internal dynamics? Do you see that adding to the turbulence in Tamil Nadu politics?
I think bringing some stability, otherwise by themselves they won't have settled probably. I don't know. But one thing I want to say is, see, every political party has a right to do their politicking in any part of the country, isn't it? So, Tamil Nadu is in a situation where a very… I'm glad you can't catch my expression when you speak. A very well-popular leader passed away, where the entire political dynamics of that party was just around one person. When that person passes away, naturally there is a vacuum and inevitably it could lead to collapse of the government. This is not fair to the people, because every 1.5 years, 2 years, new government means it's a disaster. So I'm glad for whatever reasons they've come together, and I hope they will fulfill their term and do whatever the best they can do. Our expectations have become pretty low, but at least I hope they'll fulfill the fundamental administrative responsibilities, because people deserve it more than anything. How they came together, who brought them together, that's not of my interest. My interest is that we still have a government.
Okay, so if I could just generalize that a bit. You're a spiritual man, Sadhguru, and what do you think is the role of spirituality in politics?
See, let's understand the word spiritual. If you are thinking spirituality is looking up or looking down, you've gotten it all wrong. Spiritual process means turning inward. In every human being, irrespective of what is the nature of your activity, whatever the nature of your activity, we are doing spiritual programs called inner engineering in all the prisons. It's mandatory in all the South Indian prisons and in prisons in the United States. And we are conducting programs for politicians, we are doing everything, for all kinds of people. From tribal women to celebrities, everybody is doing the programs. Because in my eyes, I don't see politicians, prisoners, this, that. All I see is human beings, and every human being needs an inner balance, an enhancement from within. Outside enhancement of adding things to your life is one thing, but enhancing yourself as a human being is fundamental and most necessary. And above all, if you, in some way, if you do not produce great human beings, how do you build a great nation? How do you make it happen? How do you build a great world unless there are great human beings? When we say great human beings, what is the big deal about the so-called great human beings? Were they the most brilliant people on the planet? Not necessarily. It is just that they transcended their boundaries, they transcended their limitations, they transcended their prejudices. So you said they are great human beings. This is the fundamental of spiritual process, that you cross the limitations of your body and the mental structures that you form and identify yourself with something more profound, that your experience of life transcends these boundaries. And this is needed whether you're doing journalism or you're doing politics or you're running the nation. This is needed for every human being, that constantly every human being should rise above the boundaries that we have set for ourselves within ourselves. So why shouldn't the politicians get it? They must. This has been the culture of the nation forever. Always, all the kings in the past had Sadhgurus to advise them. Because when you're running a nation, the various pressures upon you, you tend to become conceited, you tend to become identified with problems, and you tend to make prejudiced decisions. So there was always somebody to guide them beyond that. I wish the world leaders had this, the biggest nations in the world, I wish they had this.
Sir, you said that you treat everybody as a human being. So I'm just looking at…
No, aren't they human beings?
They are. No, they're not differentiating in the
It's
class.
not my idea, I thought they were human.
Okay. So I'm looking at one particular class is the professionals. And why I'm taking you there, because in a answer to an earlier question you said that we are choosing to be in market economy. And the professionals are playing a very big role in there. Many of professionals are coming to your inner engineering classes across the country. I just wanted to understand, have you seen a pattern over the years, whether the numbers have gone up or whether the inner engineering that they need more working? So how well the Indian professionals are coping up with the market demands based on your experience over the years?
You should interview some of them. You will know for sure.
But you've seen a statistically large pool, you will have to be making…
I must tell you this, 35 years ago when I started teaching, if I conducted a program, 80% of them came for health reasons, 15–20% came looking for something deeper, 5% usually do not know why they come. Some family, friends, somebody pushed them. But today if you look at it, over 85% come because they're looking for something. Just 8–10% come for health. This is a phenomenal change in the world, everywhere, not just in India, across the globe. Wherever we are conducting programs, online events, everything you see, people are coming there looking for a new possibility in their life, not just looking for health. This shift has happened in the last 3 decades, which I think is a phenomenal thing for humanity in many ways.
Why it has happened? Any pattern that you could…
I think it's again market economy, I would say, because when you're struggling for your survival, you don't think of these things. When you're reasonably well-to-do, you realize you have everything and still you have nothing. That is when you start looking inward.
Today's papers quote you as saying that in Tamil Nadu…
You shouldn't be reading the competition papers.
But you're not denying what you said, right? You said that in Tamil Nadu, development has become more important than Dravidian politics.
Definitely.
But at the same time, you said that you didn't think it was a good idea having streets named in Hindi. But that's the national language,
Who says so?
no?
Hindi belt is saying that, we never said that.
But there has to be one national
No,
language.
you must
no.
understand in 1950,
Huh.
when you made the division of states, the states were divided on linguistic basis. Don't challenge that now. You're not changing the republic of this country, Republic of India. The moment you challenge linguistic states, you're challenging the Republic of India. Don't do that every time you get a whim, because you don't understand Tamil is not just a language, it's a culture, it's an ethos, it's deep-rooted. In Tamil Nadu they say they breathe Tamil, not speak Tamil, okay? So when there is such a strong emotion, you don't try to rub your language on them, because you must understand Tamil language has a longer history than Sanskrit and much more literature than any other language. Now suddenly if you try to impose a language upon them, they'll definitely react. It's unnecessary because the states were divided on linguistic basis and we have to respect that.
Do you think the Prime Minister understands that?
I think he understands that there was no policy about this. It is just that somebody, over-enthusiastic people start painting highway signs in Hindi and unnecessarily creating reactions.
You just mentioned that in reference to Tamil Nadu, that the expectations of the people in any case are low from politicians. Now, do
I
you…
said mine.
or the people's expectations. But, so, is that also for the true for the political class as a whole, that expectations from the political class have lowered gradually?
This is something that you can distinctly see in the last 3 to 4 years. The expectation of what we expect from the political class has risen immensely. At one time, we had kind of given up. Now there is hope and it has risen in a big way, and I think we should keep it rising.
Risen since when?
In the last 3-4 years for sure,
Since this government came?
definitely.
In terms of what a government can achieve?
In terms of what is expected of a leader, has gone up immensely.
But do you think the political climate of the country has contributed or is contributing to the rise of yoga gurus?
Yoga, rising?
Yoga gurus.
Yoga gurus.
I don't know where these questions are coming up from. Obviously, you have kind of crystallized your ideas. Please listen to me properly. I want you to understand this, that whatever I am doing, for example, I could make this happen 10 times or 25 times more in a country like the United States or any other English-speaking country than in India. But I stay in India largely because I feel this country needs this. This is not because of government help. I want you to understand, we have not received an inch of land from the government, we have not received a rupee of contribution from the government or aid from the government at any point, nor do we find excess somewhere. In fact, the entire government, when I say people who are working for the government, especially the officials, the bureaucrats, they all want to do the program because they don't get leave, they don't get whatever other support, they're not doing it. Yoga has not grown because of government support. Definitely the International Yoga Day that Prime Minister declared has made yoga, the word yoga popular, but you don't get to make people practice yoga unless they find benefit. Can I make you practice yoga unless you know the benefit of it? No, a doctor has to tell you that you got some problem, unless you do this, it will not work, then you will do, otherwise you will not do. Because we will continuously argue against our own well-being, because this is not an ideology, this doesn't need political support, this is one thing in the world. I want you to look at this properly. This is one aspect in the world which has lived for over 15,000 years without any force. Never in the history of humanity has it happened, somebody put a sword to your throat and said, you must do yoga, otherwise we'll kill you, as other religions have spread. But today, 2.3 billion people are practicing yoga because of the sheer efficacy of it, not because of government support or any other organization violently pushing it.
Sadhguru, it's very difficult to understand, sometimes when in a country where, 40% taxes come from Maharashtra, Mumbai, if I tell you. So when the taxes, they come in droves from places like Mumbai or any other place, or from north, and they go to, and they are distributed throughout the country. So when the government distributes taxes, and the tax has got no religion, no caste, no language, nothing, then if the taxes can be distributed so equally and then nobody has any problem with that, then why is there a problem when you write in Hindi, something in Tamil Nadu, or you write something in Hindi in West Bengal, or you try to use, if you can use English in such a profuse manner, why is there a problem with Hindi or for that matter, any language? That is one, but the more serious question is that we had a program.
That's a very serious issue you're touching without realizing what it means.
Yeah, but I think this is more serious. Related to your program, we had a government plan, interlinking of river, which went to some extent, Suresh Prabhu, who is the railway minister today, he was in charge of that whole program, he was man in charge of that program, but it has not moved much. How do you see that interlinking of river program of the earlier Indian government in the backdrop of what you were trying to do?
We can answer this question together, these two questions together. It's like somebody saying, we have this big river Ganga, all right? We will grow things on the Ganga bank. Why should we give it to you down there in Tamil Nadu? If you go like this, you will divide the country, that's all. So about collecting taxes in Maharashtra and distributing, no sir, I want you to understand, Maharashtra, because of the businesses located as a financial capital and the stock market being there, money may be spinning there, but you are eating the food that is generated in various states and many other things produced by various states, you are consuming that in Maharashtra. It's not only because of Maharashtra's largesse that everybody else is living in the country, it's a very wrong idea. Just because money is counted in Mumbai, that doesn't mean it's made in Mumbai, okay? Entire country is contributing, maybe somebody more, somebody less, that's why we are a nation. Somebody is doing well, somebody is not doing well, we take care of everybody, that's why we can call ourselves a nation, otherwise we cannot call ourselves a nation. I make so much money, so only I eat, nobody else eats. That's not considered a nation, that is not even considered humanity. About the language, states were divided on linguistic basis. This meant, it is a promise that every language will be preserved, every language will be nurtured. This is the promise of the Republic of India. Are you trying to redefine India? You think Hindustan means Hindistan? It's a very wrong perception. Hindustan is not Hindistan. Hindi may be spoken by a large number of people, but this is the whole thing, that the majority doesn't impose itself on the rest, isn't it? So don't ever try to do this, you will divide India. If you try to do that, you will break this country, please don't go this way. The river thing. When you talk about dams, when you talk about linking, you are talking about usage of the river, how to use the river. That's not my concern right now. My concern is how to revitalize the river, because rivers are in deep danger. If you do not understand what I am saying, you must drive with me in the rally and see what is the condition of our rivers. 3 to 4 months it's not touching the ocean. How do you call this a river? This has become a seasonal rainwater run. This is not a river. River should flow. If this has to happen, certain steps have to be taken. That's what I am focusing on. How to use the river water, it's between the people and the government to make decisions as to how to use it. But to use it, you must have a river, isn't it, first of all? The rivers are disappearing. Let's get them back and then think about how to use it.
Sadhguru, if you could just explain this a bit. One of the reasons why rivers, the flow is decreasing is because dams are being built in the upper reaches. Now, there has always been this argument that you need those dams for the greater good, to generate electricity, for all kinds of other things. Now, it also causes enormous distress to local communities who lose their land, who lose their homes, and we've got so many of these movements going on. So, how do you reconcile this dilemma? The greater good as well as you say, the good of the river itself.
How is the good of the river not included in the greater good? I don't understand this. What is greater good? Destruction of the land and water sources is greater good? In what way is it greater good? No great dams are being built in this country right now because there is nothing to be dammed. I want you to go and look at it. There is nothing to be dammed. Most rivers have become a trickle most of the year. Only 6 to 8 months they're running. Rest of the time it's just a trickle or it's nothing, okay? You can't dam anything there because there's no water to dam. So whatever dams we have built in the past, according to the understanding of that day, it's fine, you don't have to dismantle that. But dam has a gate, right? Hello? Dam has a gate. So you just have to open the gate and decide how much water should be running. But most rivers are not held back because of the dams. Because there is not enough vegetation, you must understand that in this country, the average precipitation is only for 45 days in a year. The rain that falls for 45 days, you are supposed to hold it in the land and run it as rivers slowly over a period of time. This can only happen when there is substantial vegetation to hold this and then let it go slowly through the year. But due to lack of vegetation, now you are going through a cycle of flood and drought is happening because when it rains, it runs away, when it doesn't rain, there is a drought. So this is the pattern we wish to change. As I said, the rally is fundamentally not against anybody, not even against a dam. Dam is not a permanent thing, there is a gate. All you need to do is, there is a knob that you have to open, all right? To what extent? Let the government decide. Let there be a law that this much is there. Now NGT is saying a minimum ecological flow of 15 to 20% must be there. But it's saying percentage because percentage can be very deceptive. Because what percentage of which season's percentage, all this will come. Instead of that, they must decide a minimum of this many feet of water must be flowing any time of the year. If this doesn't come, you will destroy all the aquatic life. If you think destroying 1,000 species of aquatic life is all right for whatever you call as greater good, I don't see how it is greater good destroying so much life and we living insensitively, irresponsibly is not greater good. There are ways to do agriculture. Right now, Indian agriculture is using, the kind of water we are using is like we are irrigating the lands the way we did it 1,000 years ago, still. Any number of countries around the world are growing the same crops, anywhere between 10 to 20% of the water, they are growing the same crops with better yield. Why can't we do the same? So there are two aspects to the river, augmentation of the river and managing the usage. Both have not been done. So the policy is aiming towards this, augmentation of water flows and managing the usage.
I have a question. So, there were a lot of protests by environmentalists during the Mahashivratri function at your
Really? Which are they?
There were protests and
No.
there were cases against the 112 feet Shiva statue which was revealed by the Prime Minister, like alleging that it was built on wetlands. So, what is your response to that? Like, there have been other allegations of land grab.
Yes. We'll do one thing. You're a journalist, right? Or a management? Journalist, please come down. I made an open challenge to all the journalists. I want you to know, you are a community of journalists. What I say you will not like. For the last 25 years, there is not a damn thing that I have not been accused of, okay? I have killed 100 elephants. I have stolen 7,000 kidneys. I have 13 wives. I have destroyed a whole rainforest. Please come and prove one of them. I openly throw a challenge to all of them. Let any authority or journalist come and show me if we have taken… I said, I'll leave Tamil Nadu. They all shut up since then. And I will tell you, religious groups have been instigating this against us for quite some time because all religions seem to be against me. Every one of them, because I don't seem to identify with any of them. Now, Adiyogi statue has been built on private land, which has been denotified as wetland because nothing wet ever happened there for the last 15 years because there's no water to be wet. So we had it denotified because no crop has been grown for almost… even a dry crop has not been grown for more than 6 years. So we got the collector's permission and built it. Now the person who comes there to inspect for whatever his reasons, Mr. John somebody comes and says, as far as I'm concerned, this is a factory shed. It is built of metal, so this is a factory shed. You've seen the Adiyogi image, ma'am? Does it look like a factory shed to you? So this is the kind of rubbish that's happening. Please do one thing, a team of journalists, come and bloody investigate everything. If there's something wrong, I'll close it down. Nothing wrong, you must apologize to the entire world as a journalistic community because this is not journalism, this is trash. They're plastering my daughter's picture all over Chennai. What? To sell that trash magazine, okay? I'm saying a young girl who's studying, you plaster her picture all over. For what? Simply, Sadhguru's daughter, magazine will sell. So if this is the only way you can sell your trash, sell it, it doesn't matter. People have ignored you obviously. Every day, 20,000 people are visiting the ashram. Weekends, 40 to 50,000 people are visiting the ashram. Mahashivratri, 1 million people are coming. You think they're reading your trash?
So, I sort of, you mentioned you said that none of the religious leaders seem to like you.
Because I speak like this, even the journalists won't like me.
No, not at all. You should. I mean, this is what we cherish. Absolutely. No. I just wanted to ask you: is the spirituality of Sadhguru the mystic in conflict with the spirituality that is claimed by organized religion and ritual?
You must understand this. A belief system means you make up something and you concretize it in people's minds in a congregation. Spiritual process means it is a seeking. If you are a genuine seeker, the only reason why you become a seeker is because you realize that you do not know. If you realize, I do not know, you will seek. If you assume everything that you do not know, you become a believer. So, is it in conflict? It is not in conflict. It is totally in two different directions. Right now, you are driving this way, somebody is driving on the other street that side. Are you in conflict? No, you are going in two different directions, that's all.
Sir, I had a question. Thousands of followers of Gurmeet Ram saying had taken to the streets. 2 states are almost, nearing a lockdown till the verdict comes out on Friday. There's also so much.
Who is that? I'm sorry.
The leader of the Dera Sacha Sauda
In Punjab.
He was accused of rape. The verdict comes out on Friday. So because of which thousands of people have taken over the streets. At the same time, there is ridiculous amount of support for Asaram Bapu. What is wrong with us in terms of why do you think are we blindly following gurus? And as far as you're concerned, are your people who follow you, are they allowed dissent? And if they are, do you encourage it? And what are the conversations that you have with your followers on dissent?
That's 5 questions.
One flows from the other.
I think there's only one question. The question is, you have too many assumptions about everybody that you've not even met. This is not journalism. Journalism means you must perceive what is there. not assume everything about everybody. If you have met one doctor, have you met all the doctors in the world? Hello? You went to one doctor, instead of examining you, he groped you. Does it mean to say every doctor in the world is groping you? You better come to terms with this. You're making a very generalized thing about everything. Now, about… I don't know what this is, even about Asaram Bapu, I don't know, I've never met these people, so I don't want to make a judgment on them. But based on what the journalists have written about me, I don't believe a thing that is written. This I have matured into in the last 25 years because they have told me things that I don't know about myself. What do you do with this nonsense that's going on for 25 years of campaign? So I have not met these people, I have never bothered to meet any gurus or ashrams or things like this because I have just been busy with what I am doing, I never went out to meet them. So I don't know who they are except what I have read in the newspaper reports. But in the last 3 decades, I have matured to a place, I don't believe what I read in the newspaper. Okay? So about, do I encourage dissent? See, you think dissent is a great thing. I am not interested in dissent, but I am interested that you have an active intelligence which questions everything. Questioning is a sincere effort to know. Dissent is simply going against somebody. What's the point of such a thing? You think there is some intellectual quest in that. There is no intellectual quest in becoming rigid. If you have an active intelligence, it is natural to ask questions. Without questioning, there is no spiritual process. How can there be a spiritual process without question? Every day, day in and day out, 365 days of the year, I am only facing every kind of question. I hope I'm dealing with your questions also okay with openness. But dissent means you simply want to dissent because by resisting you think you're intelligent. There's no intelligence in resistance. There is… the nature of human intelligence is such. If you disidentify your intelligence from everything around you, this is all I did with my life, which worked wonderfully for me, and that's all I'm trying to do with everybody. You disidentify yourself from your parentage, your caste, your creed, your nationality, including your body, your gender and everything. Only then you have an unprejudiced, clean intelligence. Otherwise, you are a prejudiced intelligence. Right now, too much of identity with journalism, so it becomes a prejudiced intelligence, you think something should be wrong with everybody. If you cultivate an intelligence which is unidentified, then questioning is a natural process. And if you do not seek… if you do not have those questions, if you do not articulate those questions, if you do not invest your life in those questions, there is no spiritual process. So the very ethos of spirituality is to question, but not to dissent. Dissent what? First of all, I'm not giving you a preaching to dissent. I'm only giving you a small method and saying, work with this and see if it works, keep it, otherwise throw it. What more can I do? If that works, I'll give you the next method. If that works, I'll give you the next method. If it doesn't work, don't be here. So no room for dissent.
Is your spiritual teaching based on religion? And if so, you were born a Hindu, does that particularly figure in what your
I
message
thought I
is?
just now went through that entire process. The only sadhana I did in my life is never to be identified with anything, including my parentage, including my gender. This is why I have a clarity which the world values today, because it's unidentified with anything.
Okay, if I can just sort of take this forward. You have spoken repeatedly about that moment of epiphany that you had when you were 25 years old and you rode up
Don't call it epiphany, epiphany.
Okay, the moment where you realized that you were one with the universe, okay? So you drove up. I mean, I don't know if anybody has seen those parts of the interview that he talks about.
But is this how you run your meetings? People walk in and walk out whenever they feel, is it? So this is the freedom you have. Our meetings are run like this. Everybody has to be there on the dot. 1 second late, they will sit outside and they never leave before the meeting is over. If this is the freedom you're exercising in your lives, I think a lot has to be learned, because there is something about, there is something about continuity of what's happening, and there is something about respecting the person who's here. I don't need respect because I've never asked for it. My life is not dependent on what respect people offer. But the important thing is, you as an institution have to learn this, that you're on time for what you're doing. I'm sure you got deadlines, at least, as a newspaper, but we run our meetings like this. Nobody comes 1 second late. In these 35 years, I have not been late to a single event in my life. Do you know how much effort it takes to do that? Traveling across the world. In the last 10 days, I've been in and out of 6 countries, but still I'm on time.